Infernal Arms, Stygian Blade. Stygius, the blade of the underworld, must have been among the finest weapons ever wielded, back when it was whole. Back when the 6 elder gods sealed the Titans in the deepest recesses of Tartarus. That blade evidently played no small role in their success. It must have been Lord Poseidon who brandished that blade before he opted for that trident he liked so much. Now the blade lies broken, survived only by its burning soul. I knew that Master Hades would pay little heed if I provided all the shattered remnants of the thing to his own son, who naturally was able to reconstitute them into something more than functional indeed. It has been long since last the blade had a partner, and as I transported it, I could sense its eagerness to return to battle, to relive its own memories. I am left to wonder, who else shall someday bear this blade? The Master's son, among his charitable qualities, isn't warlike enough to want to use it forever. Eternal Spear. It must have been a sight when Lord Hades wielded Varatha the Eternal Spear versus the Titans, driving back those fiends into the depths together with the help of his Olympian brothers and sisters. The Master since has traded in that terrifying weapon for an even larger two-pronged fork he likes to branch and thread, noting sometimes its superiority to the trident of Lord Poseidon, which he insists is a mere copy. Varatha, meanwhile, has seen better days, but it is a weapon built for war, and war shall always find it, I suspect. After all, it now lies in the hands of the Lord Hades' heir, in whose command it much resembles the two-pronged fork Lord Hades came to favor since that time. Father and son are much alike, at least, in this. Something troubles me about it, though, this Varatha. As I transport it, I felt as though it once were mine. Absurd! Yet there it was, the touch of a familiar friend. The thought is barely worth making a note of, but it made me wonder whether there are aspects of the weapon well beyond my understanding. Heart-Seeking Bow. Coronat, the so-called Heart-Seeker, is certainly the finest bow ever conceived, and wielded once by none other than Mistress Hera, who stood side by side with the Zeus, on better terms back then, as they drove back the Titans under a storm of arrows and thunder. Hera since abandoned her once warlike ways, quite understandably, for she has greater matters to attend to now. However, Coronat yet yearns for further bloodshed, that it shall find in the hands of Lord Hades' own son, whom I taught the ways of such weapons. I have a distaste for the bow, it must be said, for it was by the bow that my own life was ended early in a manner of debatable glory. May it serve the prince better than it served me. That is to say, may it serve him better than it served my master from my mortal days. Chiron, lord of centaurs, vast of wisdom. He had told me of its power, shown me it. I was young and I did not believe him then, but I believe him now. Shield of Chaos. Aegis, the Shield of Chaos, is descendant from the very Aegis wielded by Lord Zeus and by Athena, his most favored daughter. The Lord of Thunder defended his brothers and sisters using that very shield when, together, they conspired to drive the Titans back into the lowest reaches of the underworld. The shield was shattered, yet a burning effigy remains, its power still intact. A power sealed within the vestige of a monstrous entity even the Titans feared. Its might is uncontrollable, and it scarce functions as a manner of defense. Instead, its writhing maw augments its wielder's might, shattering bone and solid rock with little effort and considerable zeal. I confess I had to look away from it, the family of weapons used to end the Titan War. The other members of it seem almost alive, in their own way. But there is no almost about this. It instills in me a feeling I would rather leave unnamed. May the next bearer of Aegis meet it on agreeable terms. Twin Fists. What is a weapon if not the extension of one's will to survive, to destroy? The ancient Cyclopean forge masters who created the Infernal Arms in accordance with the Fates' design must have understood this when they delivered the singular twin fists of Malphon in secret to the gods. Any other weapon must be held in the hand, but Malphon bonds with its bearer utterly, engulfing them with primal strength and a clarity. It is said even the Olympians hesitated to embrace the twin fists until Lady Demeter, her hands accustomed to tilling the land, stepped forward and accepted the gift. The Titans recoiled from Malphon's relentless attacks, overwhelmed by its fury, unable to defend against it as one might a spear or blade. The Titan Hyperion suffered the worst of it, his undying body pulverized to such an extent that even his legacy was destroyed. I can only imagine that was not the first such legacy brought to ruin, and that each time Malphon created another, greater legacy in its wake, one to be told and retold, for eons to come. Adamant Rail. Least known among the gods who stood together to dispose the Titans is the Lady Hestia, reclusive goddess of the hearth, and one-time wielder of Exegryph, the Rail of Adamant, an artifact of metal and of flame, so dreadful that the gods themselves abandoned it once their fell work was done. The Rail has a form and function to befit one's nightmares. While other weapons of the gods inspired mortal counterparts, I am relieved to say the Rail's cruel design has not yet been discovered in a stroke of mortal inspiration to conduct their wars. Let us pray, for their sake, that it never shall. For now, its secrets remain trapped within the darkest regions of the underworld, along with the remains of the Titans defeated by it. Someday, however, I imagine it shall break free from this place, for any weapon once possessed by Eris, Lady Strife herself, becomes possessed of an eternal hunger to destroy. But I am not the sort to moralize or spectate. Indeed, I wish to have no part of it at all.